A teenager can steal a Hyundai with a USB cable under a minute. This is the company that went from industry punchline to the third biggest car maker on earth. For years, every analyst said Hyundai was unstoppable. But unstoppable companies don't pay $300 million for a crime wave they caused by leaving out a $20 part. Hyundai just did. EVs are losing power at 70 miles an hour. 1.1 million vehicles recalled in 4 months. So which version of Hyundai is real? The comeback nobody believed in. To understand how big this fall is, you have to understand how far Hyundai climbed, because this is one of the greatest comeback stories in the history of the car business. Rewind to the 1980s and 90s. Hyundai was a punchline. The cars were cheap, and they felt cheap. The Hyundai XL became famous for falling apart, the kind of car late-night comedians made jokes about. If you bought a Hyundai back then, your neighbors quietly assumed you were broke. That was the brand. Bottom of the barrel, disposable, embarrassing. But Hyundai did something almost no budget brand ever pulls off. It refused to stay cheap. In 1999, the company made a bet that sounded insane at the time. It slapped a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty on its cars, roughly double what everyone else offered. Think about the confidence that takes. You only promise 10 years of coverage if you actually believe your cars will last 10 years. It was Hyundai telling America, "We know you don't trust us yet, so we'll put our money where our mouth is." And slowly, it worked. The cars got better. Then they got genuinely good. Hyundai poured money into design, poached top engineers, and launched its luxury arm, Genesis, to go straight at BMW and Mercedes. It built Kia into a design powerhouse. By the 2020s, the Hyundai Motor Group, which includes Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis, had quietly done the impossible. It passed Ford. It passed General Motors. It became the third largest automaker on the entire planet, behind only Toyota and Volkswagen. And in America, its most important market, Hyundai was on fire. It chased record sales year after year, riding a wave of sharp-looking, well-priced SUVs and some of the most acclaimed electric cars in the world. The Ioniq 5 won Global Car of the Year awards and got compared favorably to Tesla. Hyundai was building a gigantic new $7.5 billion electric car plant in Georgia, the Meta plant, promising thousands of American jobs. It was expanding into robotics, buying the robot company Boston Dynamics. The comeback was complete. The punchline had become a powerhouse. But here's the thing about climbing that high, that fast, while cutting costs the whole way up. The shortcuts you took on the way don't disappear. They wait, and one of those shortcuts, a single-part Hyundai chose to leave out of millions of cars to save a few dollars, was about to turn into the most expensive mistake any car maker made this decade. It didn't just cost money, it turned Hyundai's own vehicles into targets. And it started with a video on TikTok. The crime wave Hyundai built into its own cars. Let's start with the most shocking one, because this isn't just a business problem. This became a genuine public safety crisis, and Hyundai did it to itself to save a few dollars per car. Here's the background. There's a simple anti-theft device called an engine immobilizer. It's a little chip that stops the engine from starting unless the right key is present. By the 2010s, it was basically standard equipment across the entire industry. According to one report, by 2015, 96% of cars sold by other manufacturers had immobilizers. At Hyundai and Kia, that number was just 26%. To shave cost off millions of cars, Hyundai left out the one part that stops a thief from simply driving away. For years, almost nobody noticed. And then, in 2022, it exploded in the worst possible way. A trend went viral on TikTok showing exactly how easy these cars were to steal. All you needed was a screwdriver to pop the steering column and a USB cable to jam into the ignition, and the car started right up. No key, no alarm. Gone in under a minute. The thieves called themselves the Kia Boys, and it became a nationwide game. The results were catastrophic. Thefts of these cars didn't go up a little. In some cities, they jumped tenfold. Hyundais and Kias became the most stolen cars in America. 4 of the 10 most stolen vehicles in the country in 2025 were theirs. cities filled with stripped, abandoned, joy-ridden cars. The thefts were linked to real crashes, real injuries, and multiple deaths. Some insurance companies simply refused to cover certain Hyundai and Kia models at all. Imagine that. You bought a brand new car and your insurer won't touch it because the manufacturer left out a $10 part. And then came the bill, and it came from every direction at once. Owners sued. Entire cities sued because their police departments were drowning in stolen car cases. State attorneys general lined up to sue, and the settlements piled up on top of each other. First, a $200 million settlement, then a $145 million settlement, specifically for people whose cars got stolen. Then another one, a multi-state deal with 35 different attorneys general at once. Add it up, and you're well past $300 million, plus the cost of retrofitting more than 7 million vehicles in America with anti-theft fixes. All of it to fix a problem that a $10 chip would have prevented in the first place. That is the single most expensive corner any carmaker cut this decade. But here's the part that should really worry Hyundai. Everything you just heard was about old cars, cars built years ago. What if I told you the exact same disease, cut a corner, ship it to millions, watch it fail, was quietly baked into the brand new electric cars that were supposed to be Hyundai's future? When the electric cars started failing. Remember the Ioniq 5, the award-winning EV everyone praised as a Tesla killer? The car that was supposed to prove Hyundai belonged in the same conversation as Tesla. It and its cousins, the Ioniq 6, the Kia EV6, and several Genesis electric models, share a component called the ICCU, that stands for Integrated Charging Control Unit. In plain English, it's the part that manages the flow of power between the big drive battery and the small 12-volt system that runs everything else in the car. And it fails. Not rarely. Not in edge cases. It fails often enough that Hyundai had to recall it twice, and we'll get to why the second recall is the damning part. When the ICCU goes, it can drain the 12-volt battery, throw warning lights across the dash, and in the worst cases, cause a sudden loss of drive power while you're actually driving. The car can essentially shut down and turn into a 2-ton brick, sometimes on a highway, sometimes in traffic. For a company that spent 20 years building a reputation for reliability, this is the exact nightmare scenario. Hyundai issued a recall in March of 2024, covering around 147,000 vehicles. Then, when that first fix didn't fully solve it, they had to expand the recall in November, pushing the total past 200,000 cars. And here's where it goes from a bad recall to a real scandal. In April of 2026, a federal class action lawsuit was filed alleging something damning, that the replacement parts Hyundai installed under the recall were themselves defective. In other words, owners took their cars in to get fixed, and the fix allegedly failed the same way. Some drivers reported the exact same power loss happening again after the repair. Hyundai has extended the warranty on the ICCU out to 15 years and 180,000 miles, which sounds generous until you realize what it actually signals. You don't offer coverage that long unless you know the problem is serious and you know it's going to keep happening. It's the exact same move as that original 10-year warranty back in 1999, except this time it's not confidence. It's damage control. And if a charging unit that bricks your EV then gets replaced with a part that allegedly bricks it again, sounds like a one-off. Stay with me. Because Hyundai has done this exact dance before with a defect so dangerous it wasn't just stranding people. It was setting their cars on fire. Now, before we go further, if you're finding this breakdown valuable, take 1 second to hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell. It genuinely helps this channel grow, and there's more you need to see. Okay, back to it, because the failures didn't start with the EVs. The engine problem that never really went away. Because this isn't the first time Hyundai has been accused of selling engines that destroy themselves and then failing to truly fix them. In fact, it's been fighting this exact battle for over a decade. For years, Hyundai and Kia have been at the center of one of the biggest engine scandals in modern automotive history, built around a family of engines, including the one known as the Theta II. The problem was catastrophic. These engines could suffer connecting rod-bearing failure, where the engine essentially tears itself apart from the inside, and in a lot of cases, that led to fires. We're talking about millions of vehicles recalled over the years, and lawsuits alleging Hyundai knew about the defect long before it warned the public. Hyundai's main fix was a software update, a system that's supposed to detect the early signs of engine failure by listening for abnormal knocking, and then warn the driver. But here's the criticism that keeps coming up, and it should sound familiar by now. Owners and attorneys argue the software doesn't actually fix the underlying mechanical defect. It just warns you that your engine is about to die. It treats the symptom, not the disease. And as recently as 2025 and 2026, plaintiffs have filed amended complaints arguing Hyundai failed to honor its warranty promises and that newer engines are being pulled into the same fight, with fresh scrutiny over stalling complaints in models like the Tucson and Santa Fe. Do you see the thread running through all of this? The missing immobilizer, the failing ICCU, the self-destructing engine. 3 completely different problems, but the same underlying story every single time. A cost-driven decision, a defect that reaches a huge number of cars, and a fix that critics say doesn't really fix it. That's not bad luck striking 3 times. That's a pattern in how the company operates under pressure. And normally, a company this profitable can spend its way out of problems like these, throw money at the recalls, the lawsuits, the fixes, and move on. But that's exactly what makes the 5th disaster so dangerous. Because right when Hyundai needed money to clean all of this up, something started draining it away by the billion. Squeezed from every direction. The 5th disaster isn't a defect at all. It's a vice, closing around the whole company from the outside at the worst possible moment. Start with tariffs. Hyundai's single most important market is the United States, generating around 40% of its revenue, and roughly 40% of the vehicles it sells here are imported. So when the U.S. slapped a 25% tariff on imported vehicles in 2025, later negotiated down to 15%, it didn't just sting. It hit Hyundai like a hammer, right in its single most important market. Watch what it did to the numbers. In just one quarter, tariffs alone wiped out around $1.3 billion in profit. $1.3 billion gone in 90 days to a policy Hyundai had no control over. For the full year 2025, Hyundai's net profit fell 22%, and in the 4th quarter alone, net profit plunged more than 50%. This is a company still selling well, still setting revenue records, watching its actual profit get cut in half in a single quarter by forces largely outside its control. Then there's China, where Hyundai has been almost completely pushed out by exactly the local brands we've covered on this channel, the BYDs and the XPengs building better tech for less money. And now, those same Chinese brands are chasing Hyundai into Europe, Southeast Asia, and everywhere else it tries to grow. So Hyundai is scrambling. It's pouring $21 billion into building more factories in America to get under the tariff wall, trying to make 80% of the cars it sells here on U.S. soil by 2030. But that's a race against time, and it's not cheap, and it came with its own black eye. In 2025, immigration agents raided that gleaming new battery plant in Georgia, detaining hundreds of workers, many of them Korean specialists there, to set up the technology. The very plant that was supposed to be Hyundai's answer to the tariff problem became a symbol of just how tangled and risky its position had gotten. The comeback meets the bill, so let's go back to where we started. Hyundai, the greatest comeback in the car business, the punchline that became a powerhouse. And every bit of that rise was real. It really did pass Ford and GM. It really did build electric cars that rival the best in the world. It really did earn its spot as the 3rd biggest automaker on Earth. But here's the uncomfortable truth this whole story keeps circling back to. None of Hyundai's disasters happened in isolation. Not the theft crisis, not the ICCU failures, not the engine fires, not the financial squeeze. They're all symptoms of the exact same root cause. This is a company that climbed from the bottom to the top by being aggressive, by moving fast, and by relentlessly controlling cost. And that formula built an empire. But the same cost discipline that let a budget brand pass Ford is the discipline that left a $10 chip out of millions of cars, that shipped a charging unit that bricks the car, that keeps producing fixes. Critics say, don't fix anything. When you build your entire identity on giving people more car for less money, the pressure to cut, somewhere, never stops. And every so often, the place you cut turns out to be the place that mattered. That's what 2025 and 2026 handed Hyundai. The bill for how it got to the top, delivered all at once. A public safety crisis of its own making. Hundreds of millions in settlements. Its flagship EVs under a defect lawsuit. A decade-old engine scandal that won't die. And profit getting cut in half by tariffs while Chinese rivals close in from every side. This doesn't mean Hyundai disappears tomorrow. It's still enormous. Still setting sales records, still building genuinely impressive cars, and still absolutely capable of engineering its way out of this. But the era where Hyundai was the feel-good comeback story, where every headline was another award and another record, that era is over. What replaced it is a company fighting on 5 fronts at once, trying to prove that the empire it built in record time wasn't built on the same corners it's now paying so dearly to fix. And that, right there, is the real story behind the Hyundai disaster nobody saw coming. Not one dramatic collapse, but a slow reckoning for a company that climbed too fast, cut too deep, and is now getting handed the bill on every front at the same time. If there's one lesson in all of this, it's that in the car business, the corners you cut on the way up are exactly the ones that come back to find you at the top. No brand is too big, and no comeback is too complete to be immune from that. And here's the part that makes this bigger than just Hyundai. Every single thing we talked about, the cut corners, the defect that spreads across millions of cars, the fix that doesn't fix it, the tariff vice, the Chinese competition closing in, none of that is unique to one Korean automaker. It's the pressure crushing the entire legacy car industry right now. Hyundai is just the clearest example this year of what happens when it all lands at once. And it will not be the last name on this channel to get handed that bill. So I want to hear from you. Do you own a Hyundai or a Kia? Have you lived through one of these? A theft? A recall? A dead battery? An engine that let go? Or do you think this is just a rough patch for a fundamentally great company that'll bounce back stronger? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. And some of the best videos on this channel started with a comment from one of you. If this breakdown was worth your time, hit that like button, subscribe to MotorZen, and tap the bell, because we are covering every major shakeup hitting the global car industry right now. And trust me, Hyundai is far from the last domino. Thanks for watching. I'm grateful you spent this time with us, and I'll see you in the next one.